Hello grade 10. We're going to do some revision of loops. So here's the program. Sorry. So let's do a for loop. Now you see this edit box here. The user is going to enter a sentence in there, and we're going to count all the characters and all the numbers and all the spaces of the sentence edit. Of the sentence that the edit box will hold after the user has typed in a sentence. So I didn't name anything here, but don't worry. Button click is going to count all the characters, count how many numbers, and count how many spaces. So if we're going to count in our button click event, let's make some integer counters. Variables var, char, int, and space. We're going to make 3 counting variables, and because we're going to count, we must set them to 0 before we start counting. Always have to start with 0, and we're going to use a loop to go through every single character of that string, and we have to get the string from the edit box, not so. So let's make a variable called sline string, and then we say sline equals edit1 dot text. Now we're going to start our for k equals 1 to the length of sline, and the length will return how many characters there are, the value of the last character, and then we're going to use our case. It's easier. Case sline character k of, right, if it's an A to Z. Now I'm using uppercase here. I'll do begin and end. It's A to Z. If I'm making these uppercase, then I better uppercase this whole string. Remember, uppercase is for characters, uppercase is for a whole string. So if it's that, then we will increment our counter for our char. If it is a 0 to 9, which is numbers, we have to still put them in single inverted commas, 0 dot dot and then 9 in inverted commas. Then we will do something. We will increment our integers, our int, which is a counter for counting the integers. Then what if it's a space? So there's a space. Increment our space. Now I was only doing one thing for each one of those options there, so I don't actually need to put begin and end here. We're only doing one thing. Just put it there to show you that if you are possibly going to do more than one thing, then you need to put begin and end. You need to wrap them up in begin and end, but in this case we're not doing more than one thing for each option. Now we're not worrying about any other special characters, so we won't use else. So there we go, that's it, that's our for loop done. And now then all we have to do is display in the label. There's a label there for displaying, but we have to put a whole lot of lines in that label. So we say label, name of the label, dot caption, colon equals int to string char plus characters, and and we'll join that to a hash 13 to go to a new line, and then we're going to do into string int, and then the word numbers with spaces around it, and then we're going to join that to a hash 13 again, and then into string space, variable space that we've incremented over there, plus, and join that to the word spaces, and there's the big long string that's going to go into label 1. So let's run and see if it works. Okay, I've got some syntax errors. Oh, see, I used uppercase. I was supposed to use uppercase because, you know why? S line box number K is one character. K is going to be 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 4, then it's 5, and 6, up to the length. Let's say the length is 6, or let's say the length is 12, then K will be 12, character number 12 over there. And that is a character because I've got square brackets after the S line. So I was supposed to use uppercase, not uppercase. If I wanted to uppercase, then I've got to put uppercase here. If I didn't put it in that in this case statement, if I didn't want to put it over here, then I would take the whole sentence and put it into uppercase. See? We don't have to worry about numbers. It'll be fine. The numbers won't go into uppercase. It's just the characters that will be uppercased. Right, so I'm going to write a sentence here. Fish is 5 years old and has one. Oh no. Fish is a dog, by the way. Like that. So there's 25 characters, 2 numbers, and 8 spaces. You can even go count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. I'm trusting that the 25 characters is correct, and I'm sure it's fine. Don't forget to save. File save all. Right, let's do another problem. Let's say you bought a house, and in the edit box you're going to put the price of the house, and the house will increase in value every year by, say, 10%, and we want to know how many years it will take for the house to be double the value. So in our button click, we're going to read the number from the edit box, and I'm going to use I value integer. Well, that's the initial value, eh? Initial value, and we'll get that from the edit box. Our initial value will be equal to string to int. Now, if you're not asked to check if the edit box is an integer, you don't have to do it. You don't have to use val to check if it's not asked for in a test or exam. I'm not going to do that now. I'm more worried about using a loop, because we're going to use a while loop for this one. No, we're going to use a repeat loop, because we have to get the value, and we have to increase it every year by 10%. So I've got my initial value, and then I'm going to repeat until the initial value is doubled. Now I'm going to make a value called I doubled, and I'm going to say I doubled equals initial value excuse me value times by 2. and we're going to repeat this until our initial value is greater than or equal to I doubled. Well, I'm not going to say greater than or equal to. Well, we'll see just now. You see, we're going to double every year. We're going to we're going to add 10% every year until our value is equal to or greater than R double, or just greater. It just has to be a little bit greater, it doesn't matter, but we want to see it every time we add 10%. We're going to display it every time we add 10%. Now, because we're going to add 10%, we have to have an R an R value, R new, colon real, I'm going to call it R new, and I'm going to display R new, but what we should do is let's display the first amount, okay? So we'll make R new equal to our initial value, okay? And then we're going to display it in the rich edit 1 dot lines dot add. Now we have to display it nicely, and I'm going to call it year naught. Oh wait, year, sorry. We should actually display it before we go through the loop, eh? Let's display it before we go through the loop, because this is year naught. Float to string f on new if current. Let's remember we're dealing with money, so we're going to use that. So that's year naught before we start adding 10%. Then we're going to have a counter that will count the years. So let's make it our count. Set our count to naught before we go into our loop. Got to set it to naught. If we don't, then our count will be some random number, and we'll increment our count inside the loop, and then we are going to add 10%. R new equals previous R new plus R new times 10 divided by 100. See why we have to use a real value? Because if we don't, yeah, we're going to have a problem. Right, so R new is going to be the previous R new plus 10% of R new. Now what's going to happen when we display this in the rich edit, because we have to display it in the rich edit after we calculate it, and we're going to see what the result will be. And of course we'll do float to string f, and I'm going to copy and paste because I'm super duper lazy. I'm going to copy and paste this whole line. And where am I going to do, what am I going to do with our I count? Well, our count is going to be the year, and then we've got to add our count over here, and then we can go and add to this one line here into string our count, and then we're going to add the float to string f, the new value. And what we have to do here is not put our initial value there, we've got to have R new here, because R new is the one that's going to be incremented each time. So let's see if we've got this right. I got my initial value and I doubled it so that I can compare over here, and then I make R new equal to the initial value, counter set to 0. I know that I'm going to start with year 0, and then I'm going to add, we should actually have some kind of an equal sign here. And we should have a #9 over here, because otherwise it's going to look silly. You won't be able to see the value, and there's a bracket missing over here. So inside the loop, now we have repeat loops because we know we're going to do something at least once. We know we have to add 10% at least once, so that's why we use a repeat, and we do all of this stuff and display the first year. And if after the first year it's doubled already, well then the loop will stop. If the R new is greater than or equal to I doubled. We can do this because R new can be either greater than or equal to an integer. That is a logical statement. So this is actually, let's do it. Let's run the program and see. And if it doesn't work, then we'll fix it, because that's what programmers do. Right, I'm going to start with a moderate 500,000 property, and it says there's going to be 8 years before it gets to about double. Can you see 1071794 is about double the 500,000 that I put in there. And take note, you can't use a space over here. So year 0 is 500,000, 1, and so on. And that's what you're going to get. So it's going to take 8 years to double the house value if we add 10% every year. Okay, so I hope you understood that. A repeat loop is because we're going to do something at least once. We have to do something at least once and display it. So at least for the first year we have to. And then when it's reached this, when it gets to, it compares to see if it's greater than or equal to. As soon as it's just greater than, then the loop will stop. And take note how we did the calculation, and that is that one. Now in this button click, we use the same rich edit. Why not? Because it's easy. I will add some scroll bars here because we might go over the limit. So let's put this over here so the rich edit can actually be quite long. Necessary. We're going to roll 2 dice until we get a double 5. Okay, we want double 5s. Or we can roll 2 dice until we get both of them are equal to 10, and you add them up. You can do that too. Let's just roll them until we get a double 5. Now how do we roll dice with computers? Well, we just generate random numbers. Now we can generate the 2 random numbers straight away. Rn1, Rn2, colon integer. You have to declare 2 random numbers, and then you say Rn1 colon equals. Now if it's dice, it's a dice, then we know that we are going to use values from 1 to 6, and I have to include math at the top here because I'm going to use random range, not random. I like random range, it's much easier to remember. So random range, and the first value is 1, and then the second parameter is 1 more than the number that we want. And I wonder if I do this, will it give me a different random number for the second variable? I'm hoping so. Right. Now we've got the two numbers, and then we're going to say while rran2 is not equal to 5, and so we want them both to be 5, and rran1 is not equal to 5. Yes, I did it operate. I could have said rn1 and rn2. We just want to make sure if they're not equal to 5, then we're going to generate random numbers again. So I'll put this code inside this while loop. Why have I got the and there? I want them both to be 5, don't I? So we're going to keep generating until they are both 5, and I'm going to count how many times. So I'll need an integer to count, and we've already generated one set, haven't we? So we can set our count equal to 1 here, and while both of them are not equal to 5, so I'll put the and there, I'm going to generate the random number. I actually need to display the random numbers too, don't I? Would be a good idea. Let's display them in the rich edit. Rich edit. Before I go and display it in the while loop, after we generate, we should display. So I'm going to display it before I hit the while loop there. Into string rran1. Okay, I must put a little message here. Does 1 equals plus, and then we're going to join that to another string. So it's all about joining strings here in this rich edit. It's quite tricky. And does 2 equals plus into string rran2. So last one is that number, and last 2 is the other number. And to see what they are when we run the program, if they're both 5 before this loop, then the while loop won't even run, and our count is 1. We want to count how many times we roll these dice before we get a double 5. I'm going to display over here. Take note I'll do it before the loop, and inside the loop I'm going to increment our count, which will be counting how many times we generate the two numbers before we get a double 5. So we get our random number, our first random number, second random number, display it, and then make our count equal to 1 because it's the first roll of the dice, and then while both of those are not equal to 5, so if one of them is equal to 5, well, if one is equal to 5, then we can have a problem, aren't we? Let's think about that, because is that an and or should that be an or? We actually need an or here. we generate two random numbers again. If one of them is 4 and the other one is 5, it's still not going to be good enough, isn't it? So that while loop will stop when both are equal to 5. So that AND is actually not a good idea. Because think about it, if one is 4, one is 3 and the other one is 5, and we've got AND here, if we have AND, then both the conditions must be true for this while loop to continue. But if we have OR here, then we only need one of them to be true for the while loop to continue. Now, if both of them are 5, then the while loop won't start even. If one of them is 5, the while loop will still carry on and carry on until both of them are 5. And that's what that OR is going to do. The AND was not going to help, because if one of them was not 5, then the while loop wouldn't even start, because AND means both of these conditions must be true for all of this stuff to happen inside that loop. So it's quite a tricky problem to solve. And then right at the end of the loop we just display, because we're going to display the dice each time we get those random numbers. We're going to display them over here. Then outside the loop we will just display how many times we actually generated random numbers. That R count over there is incremented inside the loop. Okay, so we're going to run the program and see if it works. And it was this button here. So there we go. Yes, it worked. The first one was 1 and 2, 1, 2, 4, 5, 3, 4. And as soon as it hit 5 and 5, then it stopped, and the dice rolls were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 100%. Right, so if you don't understand, just watch the video again and again and again. And I will see you sometime.